Over the past couple of decades, high net worth South Africans have increasingly moved their wealth offshore. This has largely been driven by a weakening currency, a desire to protect wealth from political and economic uncertainty, and the need to diversify into larger global economies. However, what we often see when working with new clients is that offshore investments are not always structured correctly, particularly when it comes to tax efficiency and estate planning implications. At Investonline, an independent financial advisory practice based in Newlands, Cape Town, working with clients across the country and abroad, we specialize in helping clients structure their offshore wealth in the most tax-efficient and estate-friendly manner, ensuring that they are able to maximize the long-term benefits of offshore investing. In today's video, we will unpack some of the most common mistakes South Africans make when investing offshore and explain what we believe is the most effective way to structure offshore wealth. The four most common mistakes we see when South Africans invest offshore are the following. Firstly, many South Africans hold US shares or ETFs in their personal name. This can create unnecessary tax complexity, including exposure to CITES tax. It is important to remember that taxation is not only determined by where you are domiciled, but also where the asset is legally situated. Secondly, investors often use the wrong investment vehicle. Without proper structuring, this can result in excessive taxation and avoidable estate complications. Thirdly, there is often no clear plan for estate liquidity. When holding assets directly offshore, it is important to understand that your local estate cannot be finalized until your offshore estate has been wound up. In many cases, we have seen estate take 2 to 3 years to finalize. Without proper structuring, this can force local executors to sell assets at unfavorable valuations to cover offshore costs, leaving beneficiaries without access to capital for extended periods. It is also important to note that local executors cannot finalize offshore assets, and the offshore executor typically charge hourly fees rather than a flat rate, which can become costly. Lastly, many investors concentrate too heavily in the United States. While holding the Nasdaq, S&P 500, or MSCI indices may feel diversified, in reality, it often results in concentration in the same underlying mega-cap US stocks, reducing the true benefit of global diversification. So how do we address these complexities, and what is the solution? At Investonline, we believe one of the most effective ways to structure offshore wealth is through an offshore investment wrapper. In simple terms, the investor remains the beneficial owner of the investment, while the investment institution becomes the taxpayer of the foreign life policy. This structure helps remove many of the tax and estate planning complication from the investor's personal estate. Within the wrapper, you still retain full control of your investment choices, whether that includes shares, ETFs, or unit trusts. So what are the tax advantages of using an offshore wrapper? Firstly, capital gains is effectively capped at a flat rate of 12%, compared to a potential maximum of up to 18% in a personal capacity. Importantly, this capital gains tax does not form part of your taxable income, as the investment institution manages the tax liability on your behalf. Secondly, interest income is also taxed more efficiently at a flat rate of 12% compared to a potential marginal tax rate of up to 45% if held in your personal name. This is because offshore funds typically reinvest income within the fund structure, allowing it to be treated as capital growth rather than income. Thirdly, no capital gains is triggered on death, provided your beneficiaries choose to retain the wrapper account. CGT would only apply when they eventually disinvest, allowing additional time for the investment to continue compounding. Lastly, there are no annual tax filings required, as you are not the direct taxpayer on the investment. The investment institution assumes that responsibility on your behalf. One of the most important reasons South Africans use offshore wrappers is due to the estate planning benefits. There are 4 key advantages. Firstly, no foreign estate rebates are required, which allows the estate to be administered more efficiently and with fewer cross-border delays. Secondly, there are no executive fees on the offshore wrapper, as the beneficiary nominations are built directly into the investment contract. Thirdly, there is no exposure to citus tax, as the investment is structured through regulated investment institutions in estate-friendly jurisdictions such as Guernsey or the Isle of Man. Lastly, there is a direct transfer of assets to beneficiaries. This means they can gain access to the capital without waiting for the full estate administration process, or alternatively, continue the investment uninterrupted. Many investors ask why they should not simply use feeder fund or asset swap fund structures instead of investing directly offshore. While these structures do address certain estate complications, the tax outcome is materially different. In the example below, we compare a historical investment in a feeder fund versus the equivalent offshore fund in hard currency, using the same fund manager, same strategy, and same underlying assets. The key difference lies in how capital gains are calculated. With feeder funds, capital gains are calculated on both the underlying investment growth and the depreciation of the rand. In contrast, when investing directly offshore, capital gains are only applied to the underlying investment growth, excluding currency depreciation. To illustrate this, Investor A invests 10 million in a feeder fund 10 years ago. Upon withdrawal, the investor is taxed up to 18% on both growth and currency effects, resulting in a net value of approximately 27.5 million. Now, Investor B invests through an offshore wrapper. The investor is taxed at a flat 12%, resulting in a net value of approximately 29.7 million. This creates a difference of approximately 2.2 million, demonstrating how small structural decisions can have a meaningful long-term impact on wealth. So what investment options are available within the offshore wrapper? The investment universe is extensive, with access to approximately 400 underlying funds and strategies, including leading active managers and ETF providers across global markets. In Investonline, we ensure the client portfolios are well diversified across multiple asset managers, currencies, and geographies, ensuring that your portfolio is not only globally diversified, but also robustly constructed for long-term resilience. So how can Investonline assist you? We are an independent financial planning practice specializing in investment management, tax planning, and estate structuring, with a track record spanning more than 16 years. We provide comprehensive offshore wrapper structuring, whether that involves transferring existing offshore investments into a more efficient structure or building a new offshore portfolio from the ground up. We also actively manage portfolios and partnerships with our clients, providing ongoing guidance on market developments, risks, and opportunities. Our process includes quarterly review meetings where we assess both your investment portfolio and your broader financial plan to ensure alignment with your long-term objectives. If you'd like to discuss your offshore structure or broader financial plan, you are welcome to schedule a complimentary, no-obligation consultation with one of our team members. For further information, please feel free to visit our website where you can access additional insights through our webinars and newsletters. Thank you for watching.